Is Pirate Software correct about Stop Killing Games? Can this initiative save gaming? Is it even remotely possible that a law would emerge from this initiative that would help us keep our games that we paid for in a playable state? Yeah, no, probably not. To be honest, the fact this is a EU citizens initiative is basically the first step in what would be a lengthy process of potentially crafting some sort of law that would help keep games in a playable state. Now, do I think this initiative is good and should you support this initiative? Yes. Yes, I do. Now, I will explain totally my reasoning for that because I am a libertarian. That is where I lean politically. And this is certainly a sort of government initiative that infringes on private enterprise by forcing them to do certain things that they might not otherwise want to do. So, how do I justify that? Well, the fact of the matter is that the idea of Stop Killing Games is that games eventually reach an end in their support cycle. Now, usually in the past, this really only applied to games that had an online component. So the servers for Red Alert go down and they go, okay, look, this game is not being played by very many people anymore. We've not made any money on this. We're basically going to shut down these servers. And we're going to basically say, because these servers are shut down, we're no longer supporting this. This is not our, we're not having anything to do with this game anymore. And that would leave that game in a potentially unplayable state, or at the very least, in an online uncapable state. You can't play multiplayer anymore. Now, that's not great, but with a little bit of ingenuity, the fans could always come in and say, you know what, we're going to host our own private servers. We're going to do something to make this game playable because we really love it. It's a cult classic. We want to keep playing these things online, and we'll do it. And maybe they do it in some crazy, weird loophole. We're emulating a machine that's, looking like it's a LAN party or something like that. Whatever. But now, most games have a sort of phone home initiative. They have let me see if it says here. Yeah. So this is basically something that is a function where the game needs to be online and able to connect to some game server. Even if the game is fully installed on your system, everything that you need to play the game is on your system, your console, your PC. If it does not have an internet connection, the game basically is not playable. It will basically say, no, we can't connect to the servers. You can't play it. Now, this is massively problematic for a number of reasons. Firstly, it just makes the experience of playing it crap. People hate it. It's really bad. It should not be a thing. But when those games reach the end of their life cycle, when the company decides, you know what, it's not worth it for us to continue maintaining these servers, continue maintaining the phone home, whatever server function needs to be had to make it work, we're just not going to do it anymore. And they also tend to sever the connection necessary for the game to function, proceed to destroy all working copies of the game, and implement extensive measures to prevent the customer from repairing the game in any way. So now that fan wants to play that game, they just straight up can't do it because the company that sold you this game destroyed it after the fact. They have basically made this version completely unplayable. You bought it, and you bought an experience, not the game itself. You did not buy everything. You did not buy the ability to play it forever. You bought a limited time window in which you could play it while the company is supporting it. And that's it. Now, when I buy a game, I buy a game. When I buy a board game, that's mine. That's my board game. I bought it. It's mine forever. Okay? The rationale of the company is that no. You bought, again, a limited time window. Now, here's the thing. I would argue, if this was a legal case, which it's not, which is a mistake, and I think this actually should have been handled probably through the US court system as opposed to an EU citizens initiative. But again, if you're in Europe and can support this and haven't already, do go ahead and do it. It is closing in on the million. There's about a month left. They do have the minimum threshold in at least 7 countries. I believe last I checked, there are 12 at least countries that have met that minimum threshold. So do go sign this petition if you're in Europe. But I think that should have been done through the US court system. I think we would have had a better resolution if that's the way it had gone. Anyway, my legal argument would be that when a company decides to stop support for this game, they are essentially throwing it in the trash. Now, in the US legal system, there is a very clear precedent that says if you throw something away, you throw something in the garbage, people have no right to that stuff they throw away any longer. They have relinquished their property rights over that piece of material. So, as famously done in, a bunch of Law and Order episodes, if you take a sip from a cup of coffee and you throw it away, the police can go back into that trash can, grab that cup of coffee out, and now they got your DNA. Now, there's issues with that, and I would argue that you did not relinquish your rights to your DNA, just that piece of paper cup. But there is a precedent in the US court system, and I believe this is perhaps just a measure of English common law. I could be wrong about that. Do let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But I would argue that games stopping their support of these services, they've relinquished all rights to it. It is in the trash, and anyone who wants to grab it and pick it up can do so. And therefore, I would even go so far as to say, if somebody wants to make a mod for a game that has completely lost all support, host their own servers for it, and make a ton of money on it, they should be well within their rights to do so. And I think they are well within their rights to do so. But so far, that is not the case. That has not been the case. And you end up with games that are unplayable. And as more games have this phone home function, you're going to end up with games that are totally unplayable in their natural state. You will have to go to crazy, illegal, pirating methods to continue playing these games that, again, you paid for. Okay? You paid for these games. You bought them with the assumption that this was your game forever. The company says no, this is a dispute. And again, I think this probably would be better disputed in court as opposed to the citizens initiative. But I guess it's a little bit easier to do, an initiative like this. And they're hoping to get some sort of, legal precedent out of this, which is all to the good. And that's why I would say you should go and support this. Now, Pirate Software, what is his view on this? It's really, really, really disingenuous. I don't think he's actually looking at this as anything other than, I'm making a live service game, and this initiative might make it slightly more difficult or costly for me to make this game, and therefore I don't want it to happen. Which, of course, is obviously, totally against all the people that he, brought into his community as going, yeah, I'm a big supporter of games. I think people should be making games. I think the whole ecosystem should be fantastic for games and gamers. Now he's kind of, going back on this because he does, I think, have some degree of personal stake in this. I also don't think he really looked through this initiative. And that is evident in the fact that he basically said, look, they're basically saying that all games need to have a single player mode. And it's like, no, I read through this whole thing. There's nothing There's nothing in this entire initiative that says anything about that. It literally just says stop making it so that it is completely impossible for us to play our games after you're done supporting them. Stop going in and writing code. This code takes extra time. All of these server functions take extra time to code in. Just stop doing that. Just stop wasting your time and stop wasting my money by adding in this bullcrap that makes the experience of playing your game way crappier, because now I have to connect to a server every time I go on. And it robs me of my ability to continue playing this game after you're done with it. Okay? It's completely ridiculous. So he does not really address those issues, and I think that is a significant problem. So does Pirate Software have your best, your best interest at heart? I don't think so. Now, he's got his own best interest at heart, which I can respect. I can totally respect that. But he's kind of, talking out his ass when he says, yeah, this initiative's not good. And then, of course, he's also saying, oh, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything to kill this initiative. Yeah, you did. You made a video 10 months ago, and to your, what is this? 1.2 million views, 2.48 million subscriber base, that this is a bad initiative. Don't support it. Okay, how many more signatures would they have had? Would they have hit their million signature goal by now if Pirate Software had not put out this weird, I don't want to say smear campaign, but smear campaign against this initiative? I kind of think it's a significant possibility. Now, again, I do hope in the next month they do get it. The last I checked, they actually have been gaining signatures at a significant rate. If you're in Europe, do please go sign this. I hope it works out, because at the very least, this signals to game makers that they will potentially face some sort of backlash from their consumer base if they do not stop screwing with their audience. Okay? And I think that's kind of the best that we can actually hope for here, is that people say, you know what, this has an online only functionality for this game. I'm just straight up not going to buy it. I'm just not going to buy it because I'm not guaranteed to ever be able to play this again, and they can always screw around with the game. They can redo it, remake it, patch out some problematic crap, and you don't actually own that game anymore. I think people should be disgusted by that. I am, absolutely. And, if that means that those companies go out of business, fantastic, great, awesome. I think that's the best way to go forward. But this is a good signal to those companies that we're just not dealing with this stuff anymore. We're not gonna handle it anymore. We're not gonna take it anymore. So, with that being said, good luck in all your endeavors. Thank you for your time and attention. Farewell for now.